All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Well. Peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect, the Bayat, Dawadah, the house of David. Right, so we're just going to get you this here scripture, then we're going to play this video, we're going to get up out of here, man, because I really wanted you to pay more attention towards the video that I'm going to play for you and have you understand that this man's kingdom is done, man. All right? It's fallen, and eventually it's going to be expurgated out of here, man. Okay? You see? So let's get you the scripture here first, and we're going to play this full video out, then we're going to close, okay? This is Habakkuk 2, and we'll start at verse 5. It says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, meaning his philosophies, he is a proud man, right? Neither keepeth at home, right? Because he's always in other people's countries, stealing their resources, right? Destroying their land, setting up puppet leaders, all right? Just draining them of their resources. You see? And then when he drains them of their resources, now all the people got to come here, right? And they got to depend on on Babylon the Great. You see? Henceforth, why he's, we don't need all these immigration and all this. You see? This man is a damn devil, but he can go over and rob and steal and rape and pillage, right? But then when people come over here fleeing from, how can I say, the pits of hell that you created over in their countries, right? Then you got something to fucking say. All right? That's why this man is going to be fucking destroyed, man. Because he's a devil. All right? He's a damn devil. And neither does he keep it at home. He's a proud man, man. All right? It says he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death. Right? Because everywhere this man go, he brings nothing but death. All right? And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Henceforth, why he's a vagabond and a fugitive fleeing justice. Okay? But the justice is going to be put on his ass when Yahweh Shai come. You see, and the angels come. And then we're going to get busy on the international bankers, right? When we come back down from chariots, Lord willing, I may be a part of that elect, Lord willing. You see, Yahweh Ratazah, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Ratazah, right? Okay? So it says, and as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, shall not, verse number 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. That word thick clay right there is a batya. And as you know, America's a debt clock, right? Or Babylon the Great, the debt clock of Babylon the Great is what, at 38 trillion, right? But it's really higher than that. You see, they want you to think that it's 38 trillion, but it's really higher than that. Probably somewhere in the lines of 200 trillion, maybe 100 trillion, or, but I know it's higher than 38 trillion, man. All right? You see, it's definitely higher than that. Okay, so let's go in here and play this video, and then we're just going to close, man.
Something big happened in the world of money, and hardly anyone noticed.
As you can see, it says the BRICS just launched a gold-backed currency. The end of the dollar era has begun.
The group known as B.R.I.C.S, made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with...
Now, I did a video back a while ago on the BRICS, right, and the things that is going on with BRICS, right? Let's continue on.
Some new partner nations quietly started testing a new financial tool called the Unit. It's not an app. It's not a crypto meme coin. It's a gold-backed digital currency meant for one main purpose: to reduce the world's reliance on the US dollar. Now, before you assume this is just another dramatic "the dollar is collapsing" story, let's look at what's actually happening. Around 90...
Well, the dollar is finished. Henceforth, that's why they want to move over into a new world order, a technocratical digital system, right? A digital beast system. You see, henceforth with biometrics, right? biometrics digital ID. Okay, I see you add that MOTB in there, which is the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, NFC near field communication microchip, right? Which is all track, trace, and control, right? This is the whole point, right?
Percent of trade between Russia and China is now done without using US dollars. That's a huge shift. At the same time, US national debt has reached about $38 trillion. Whether you see that as manageable or worrying, it's a massive number. And behind the scenes, countries are slowly building a new system for global trade. To understand why this matters, we need to go back in time. After World War II, world leaders met at the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. They decided to base the global financial system around the US dollar. At that time, the dollar was tied to gold, and the US economy was strong and stable. Even after the gold link ended in 1971, the dollar stayed at the center of global trade. Oil is priced in dollars. Countries hold dollars in their reserves. Big international deals usually happen in dollars. This gave the United States a major advantage. Because everyone needed dollars, the US could borrow money more easily and run large deficits without losing global trust. Economists sometimes call this an exorbitant privilege, but this power also came with influence. Since most international payments pass through dollar-based systems, the US can use financial tools like sanctions to pressure other countries. That became very clear in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Western countries froze around $300 billion of Russia's foreign reserves and cut several Russian banks off from SWIFT, the main global banking messaging network. For many nations watching from the sidelines, this was a wake-up call. They realized that if political tensions rise, access to the dollar system can be restricted. So some countries started asking a simple question. What if we had another option? That's where the unit comes in. Developed with help from the International Research Institute for Advanced Systems.
Henceforth, cut them totally off, and we deal on our own financial way of means, right? That's pretty much what they're saying, meaning the BRICS.
B.R.I.C.S. The unit is not meant to replace local currencies like the rupee or the yuan. People won't use it to buy groceries. Instead, it's designed for governments and big companies to settle international trade. Here's how it works. Instead of Brazil converting its currency into dollars and then into Russian rubles to buy oil, both sides could settle the deal using units. That means fewer steps, lower costs, and less need to use the US-controlled financial system. What makes the unit different is its backing. About 40% of it is tied to physical gold. The remaining 60% is linked to a mix of B.R.I.C.S member currencies. Gold has been trusted for thousands of years as a store of value. By combining gold with a basket of national currencies, B.R.I.C.S is trying to create something stable and less dependent on any one country. This move is part of a larger plan. Over the past few years, B.R.I.C.S countries have been building their own payment systems. China has CEPs for cross-border yuan transactions. Russia created its own financial messaging network after facing sanctions. India's UPI system is expanding internationally. These systems are slowly being connected, forming a parallel network. On top of that, the new development bank, often seen as a B.R.I.C.S alternative to the World Bank, has increased lending in local currencies instead of dollars. The numbers show real change. Russia and China now conduct most of their trade in rubles and yuan. Within B.R.I.C.S, dollar use in trade has dropped significantly. This doesn't mean the dollar is disappearing tomorrow, but it does mean countries are building backup options. India's role is especially interesting. It has strong ties with both Western nations and B.R.I.C.S members. Indian officials have said the dollar still plays an important role in global stability. At the same time, India continues to explore non-dollar trade when it makes sense. Instead of openly challenging the system, India seems to be quietly preparing alternatives. The United States has responded with tough language. Former President Donald Trump has suggested heavy tariffs on countries that try to move away from the dollar. The idea is simple. Make it expensive to abandon the dollar system. That might slow things down in the short term, but it also shows how serious the issue has become. None of this guarantees the end of the dollar. The US still has the largest economy in the world, deep financial.
Well, they're gonna end the dollar them damn selves. They're devaluing the dollar every day. They're doing it them damn selves, right? Because they want to bring in a new digital system, which they already have in place. Henceforth, all you need to do is push off that microchip. You see, that's the major prophecy to come. You see, because the dollar bill is not backed by gold nor silver, right? That's been done away with. All they doing is printing money into what you call hyper inflation, and then eventually go into hyperinflation. That's what this is all about. That's why the Apostle Tahar always speaks about gold and silver, right? Because gold and silver, right, are the high standards of what trade and commodity and barter system and barter trading. You see, the fiat currency is nothing but paper, is nothing but a debt, a debt. That's all it is. All right? A high price debt. Okay?
Markets and strong global influence. Replacing the dollar at the center of global finance would take years, maybe decades. Trust and stability don't shift overnight. But something important is changing. For the first time in decades, a serious effort is underway to create a parallel system for global trade, one that doesn't rely entirely on the United States. The dollar isn't collapsing. It's being challenged. And whether that challenge grows or fades will shape the next chapter of the global economy. Indonesia has opened.
Well, the dollar is collapsing. The dollar is collapsing. The dollar is done. You see? Go into certain places, right? People be like, well, we don't, certain places we don't deal with cash. But, you deal with, car. It's moving over to a new system, right? Which is a payments, because eventually the credit cards are going to be done. Eventually, anything to do with credit cards, fiat currency money, which is the cash, right? That's all going to be done away with, all right? You're moving into what you call a new system, a digital system, a digital currency, all right? CBDCs. Eventually, that's going to come down the line. Henceforth, why that devil, Nero 47, signed in stablecoin, all right? You see? A CBDC, right? And as you see the things that are going on, right? Put you up there. I don't know if they told you. I don't know if they went up there and told you. But first and foremost, Bitcoin, right? There's a lot of things going on with Bitcoin, right? The dominance thing of it is that stablecoin is dominating right now, right? So just through the spirit, my spirit, in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, I just say, okay, that stablecoin has got a lot to do with that RFID microchip now. Meaning that's going to be the currency henceforth of that payment on that chip. You see? This is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. This is what I'm seeing, because a lot of things are going on, man. All right? And I like to get into a lot of gold and silver and money and things of that nature, because why? There's things of barter systems, right? And so on and so forth. But, anyway, let's continue on.
Openly signaled that it has no desire to pursue dollarization. South Africa is moving carefully, avoiding bold declarations. Even Brazil's leadership, once outspoken about challenging US dollar dominance, has moderated its language. That alone tells you something. Countries may want alternatives, but they're wary of the consequences. And when Washington responds to talk of alternatives with threats or pressure, it unintentionally validates the criticism. The central complaint from B.R.I.C.S nations is that the United States leverages the dollar as a geopolitical instrument. If the reaction to diversification efforts is punishment, it reinforces the perception that financial power is being used as leverage. The timing of this debate is not random. The United States now carries more than $38 trillion in national debt, roughly equivalent to $114,000 for every citizen. The debt-to-GDP ratio is hovering around 120%, levels not seen since the aftermath of World War II. Former Federal Reserve Chair and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned about the possibility of fiscal dominance when government borrowing pressures begin to constrain the central bank's ability to manage inflation effectively.
Which is gonna cause them to what? Move over to a new world order, a new totalitarian, authoritarian government, right? A new system of running with CBDC, central bank digital currencies. All right? Everything being done digitally. As you can see, everything is being done digitally anyway. All right? It's just going to further on. Okay? As these days move on, as this time moves on, you're going to see and you're going to understand what we've been telling you.
In practical terms, it means debt obligations grow so large that traditional monetary policy tools lose flexibility. The U.S. government is paying close to $1 trillion annually in interest alone, exceeding spending in several major budget categories, and those costs are rising. For foreign governments holding dollar reserves, this trend raises legitimate questions about long-term stability. At the same time, B.R.I.C.S countries have been quietly strengthening their position. Collectively, they hold over 6,000 tons of gold. China has been consistently adding to its reserves, signaling preparation for a less dollar-dependent future. Forecasts suggesting gold could approach $4,000 per ounce by mid-2026 reflect growing demand for tangible assets. The proposed B.R.I.C.S financial unit is not a sudden revolution. It is one component of a broader, gradual strategy to diversify risk. However, predictions of the dollar's immediate collapse are exaggerated. The U.S. dollar remains central to global finance, involved in nearly 89% of foreign exchange transactions, and accounting for about 57% of global foreign exchange reserves. It remains the most liquid and widely accepted currency in the international system. Diversification is happening, but it is incremental rather than dramatic. There are structural obstacles to rapid change. B.R.I.C.S nations are not a unified economic bloc in practice. India and China have ongoing territorial tensions. Brazil's economy is subject to volatility. Russia operates under heavy sanctions. Building a shared currency among countries with divergent interests and political priorities would be extraordinarily complex. Even officials within member states have downplayed the feasibility of a common currency in the near term. Moreover, no existing currency fully matches the dollar's global functionality. China's yuan remains subject to capital controls. The Russian ruble lacks broad international trust. The Indian rupee is not fully convertible. Gold, while valuable as a reserve asset, is impractical for routine trade settlement. The dollar's dominance stems from deep financial markets, institutional stability, legal frameworks, and powerful network effects. Global participants rely on it because everyone else already does. Dismantling that interconnected system would take considerable time. Even if governments want to reduce reliance on the dollar, the logistics are daunting. Establishing new payment channels, renegotiating contracts, developing clearing systems, and creating financial...
Henceforth, why we know who's in charge. Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, this is who we know who's in charge. This is why we say Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, the 7th verse, read all the way down to the 9th verse, that Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right?
Infrastructure requires sustained coordination. History offers perspective. When the euro was introduced in 1999, many expected it to significantly erode dollar dominance. More than 2 decades later, it holds roughly 20% of global reserves, an important role, but not a replacement. The real question is not whether change is occurring, but how fast. Certain signals would indicate acceleration. Energy markets are critical. The long-standing practice of pricing oil in dollars underpins global demand for the currency. If major exporters begin settling energy trades in other currencies, that would represent a structural shift. Central bank reserve allocations are another indicator. The IMF's COFR data shows the dollar's share declining from about 72% in 2000 to approximately 57% today, a steady but gradual decrease. A drop below 50% would mark a significant milestone. Payment systems also matter. China's cross-border interbank payment system, CIPS, and proposed B.R.I.C.S settlement mechanisms are building alternative channels for international transactions. As more participants join, these networks become increasingly viable. Gold purchases by central banks, which have reached record levels in recent years, suggest hedging against currency concentration risk. Finally, U.S. fiscal stability remains pivotal. A serious debt crisis or loss of confidence in treasury markets could dramatically accelerate diversification efforts. What we are witnessing is not an abrupt collapse of the dollar-based order, but a slow transition toward a more diversified financial landscape. The system established after World War II is evolving, not disappearing overnight. The dollar still benefits from unmatched liquidity and global integration, while internal divisions among B.R.I.C.S members limit the speed of coordinated alternatives. Reserve currency transitions historically unfold over long periods. The British pound once held global dominance before gradually yielding to the dollar. Such shifts often appear subtle for years before reaching a tipping point. The emergence of B.R.I.C.S-led initiatives may not signal the end of dollar supremacy, but it does suggest the early stages of a more multipolar monetary environment, one in which financial power is more distributed and strategic choices are expanding.
All right, so with that, I'm going to say shalom.